Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we look at old and new England games and ask just how England is this?
It's semi-final time. After another penalty shootout win under Gareth Southgate, can England go all the way?
You may be a stranger, that's what time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me. Darling, there's no danger with all that we've been through, that anyone could love you more than me.
Oh, it's a pleasant Monday. It's just another happy Monday.
Think about how we ended the last one.
Oh no. Yeah, it's been that was what, Wednesday?
Hmm.
And this is now Monday.
A lot's gone on, obviously. I wouldn't say a lot's improved, but a lot's gone on. And the mood of the nation has improved for various reasons. But I think everyone feels just a bit better about just getting on with the world and fuck it, let's just see. Let's just see how everything is from now on.
Yeah. Compare this feeling to Euro 2020. I wished we'd never had bloody success because it just makes you complacent, doesn't it?
Yeah,
We're just both now just like, yeah, semi-finals, good. Could be better though, couldn't it? But
yeah.
no, come on, let's get into the reality of it. Um, yeah, we're back because we're one episode closer to episode 66, the
Yeah.
fabled final slash winning podcast. It would be now, I think. Yeah, we'd have to win for episode 66 to be
I mean,
about us
why? Because
winning.
we have to continue what we've done in the past and just be absolute cowards and not turn up for the funeral podcast.
Yeah, so like you say, when we last spoke, I predicted 3-0 to Switzerland. I think you
And that was
predicted,
you being like confident. Like,
yeah,
oh, I
yeah.
think I think we can keep them at 3.
I started at 5 and then, you know, ended up at 3. Um, yeah, so yours was 2-1 Switzerland?
Think I had that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And we were both wrong. But that was on the Wednesday. Did you like change, by the time Saturday came around, how were you feeling?
I was excited and hopeful, and I don't know really. It was the first time this tournament I'd be able to do the classic me. So I organised the table for people when we went out. I got there early to make sure that we were there, slash I could get a sneaky pint in before everybody
Yeah,
else,
yeah.
and just have it. And like I walked into town and I'd got my Tiny England playlist on of two different versions of Three Lions,
Yeah.
World in Motion, and Terry Venables' If I Can Dream.
Is that
So
a sequel series to Little Britain, Tiny England?
Tiny England, yeah. So yeah, I got my little playlist on and was walking in, just being like, you know what, this is what I've missed. This is maybe while I've felt not disconnected because I've just had like a weird tournament in terms of where I've watched it and all that, but I was positive, happy, and I was like, oh, I remember this feeling of fun. And there was a lot of people there that went with that I hadn't seen in quite a while, so it was just nice to catch up with them. And I actually didn't even know. We're going to slightly jump around, but I didn't even know that Alexander Arnold wasn't playing or whatever. Like I thought it was going to be Trippier, and I was just like, when you're talking and you're like, I'll know in a minute. I don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
look at the TV and I missed it or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, it's fine. And yeah, I think I was more positive going into that and thinking, yeah, you know what, this is 50-50. I think that's as positive as I probably got just because I knew what had come before.
I think by the I felt quite calm and
Mm,
almost like I'd put all my negativity out there, and
yeah.
now it was time to be a bit positive. So, yeah, I think it was a different mood. Everyone had calmed down, but more out of kind of necessity than any hope that things would improve. In the group
Yeah.
stages and that, it was always like, right, there's another game happened now. Let's just refresh and have a look at where we are. But now it was just like we're playing a good team, and something's either going to happen or it's not. And at this point, I don't actually give a shit.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just accepting it, wasn't it? Which is now where we are even more of just accepting what this is going to look like.
And also that it was Saturday at 5 p.m.
Yeah,
That is a good. Excuse me, what my watch is buzzing here. Let me put that on my wrist so it doesn't buzz so loud. Um, Yeah, that was a good time for it really, because it was just like, at least it
Yeah.
can be fun, hopefully the football isn't so bad that it makes it not fun, but it was a good time to look forward to. In the build up, I think what started to maybe make us a bit more positive, there was a lot of talk about a back three switch, and I think we both
Hmm.
kind of thought that was sensible the more we thought about it. You were gutted that you didn't predict it on the previous pod because you messaged me about a minute after the first story league going, I was going to say that.
I know, yeah. I have got my notes, so I can show when they're dated, Your Honour. And I was gonna bring it up, and I thought, no, that's just too mental. There's no way Southgate's gonna do something kind of that bold, or even like change it. But as soon as it started coming out, I was just like, shit.
Yeah,
Could
yeah,
have could have been proper Billy Big Bollock smart about that. But I think the idea of changing it was to match Switzerland, wasn't it? Because of what happened with them and their plan when they like kind of wiped the floor with Italy.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it made sense. I don't really know what we thought because the idea we thought was going to be okay. Trippier will go out, Alexander Arnold will come in. Everyone's going to be a bit happier now. Saka will be on the left.
yeah.
Great. Didn't happen like that.
Didn't happen like that. But what I'm confused with is like leaks, or why is information coming out days ahead of time? Like
Hmm.
in all the group games as well, there was a day or two before, this is what's going to happen. We knew Trent was going to start. We knew Gallagher was going to start. We knew Mainoo was going to start. Those have been pretty much the only changes to actually report on. But we've known all of that ahead of time. So what do you think's going on there?
It's weird, isn't it? I don't quite know how it works with journalists, and I'm sure they'd never tell either about when you get certain information about teams. So in cricket, I think it's really it happens quite a bit where you'll hear, oh, so and so player from the England team dropped, looks like they're going to play this person instead. And I'm just like, okay, is that them leaking it? I'm assuming it has to be like the England team are kind of letting everybody know this is what we're thinking about doing. So when it actually happens, it's almost not as shocking and maybe keeps the press on side that a team are so open. So maybe that's the way that they're looking at it and thought, let's just put the feelers out there and we can
Leak.
see how this is received. It's not quite like briefing when you're like, oh well, we've got a policy or we're going to sign a player or that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. It's just a bit more like, "Just a heads up, lads. Be nice."
Yeah, definitely. I actually watched the Thick of It episode about where the inquiry into leaking was launched yesterday.
Mm.
So maybe that's why that's on my mind and in the running order. But yeah, the lineup did come out with Trippier on the left, Saka on the right, and Konsa coming in. My impressions were very negative, I have to say, because I first saw it on the Sky Sports app from a friend, and it
Mm.
didn't have it laid out as a back three.
And you thought like that, like nothing had changed basically then, because it's pretty
Yeah,
much the same players in a different formation in theory.
yeah, and then I'm not even sure how it played out in terms of, it did look like a back three throughout, but it wasn't
Yeah,
like pure.
there were definite times when the game started and I was watching it just going, oh, because was it reported in the formations and that it was Saka on the left,
No,
Trippier on the
not
right?
what I
So
saw.
they'd stuck. Yeah, so I didn't see in the build up again because I thought, well, maybe Alexander Arnold or Trippier playing, didn't know which one. And then when the game starts, you're like, hang on, why is he there? Why is Trippier there? Why is Saka there? Because I was watching at the start and it was more kind of that maybe I haven't watched England in a little while when we've played the back three. It's when Walker was pushing quite high up, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, it's just the same shit then. It's just still him there and Saka there, but I guess it must have made some sort of difference, even if it was just from there where they just accepted that England were going to have no width apart from the fullbacks. Even
Yeah,
if you were going to class them as a fullback or a wingback, it doesn't particularly matter now. But I always remember being like, I don't think this is working, and it worked in terms of Saka was in the game more, so
yeah,
something clearly happened there. So that's like good, but it did feel like he is England's only outlet now. Not that they had
yeah,
loads before, but it just felt like they were almost like constraining themselves to play
and
this formation defensively without much of a plan of what to do when they had the ball.
we've been due a player having a decent performance. I don't think you
That's
can
not
have a
Kobe
team.
Mainu.
Oh yeah, yeah, but I guess an attacking player. I know
Yeah.
he can help in that attacking, part of the game. But to have Kane, Bellingham, Foden, Saka all kind of misfiring game after game after game, something's got to give at one point.
Mm.
or another. And yeah, Saka looked quite good quite early on, but the first half I thought there were some improvements. What those improvements are, I'm not sure. I think it was literally the difference was they weren't passing it out of play every time and missing each other,
Yeah.
passing it 10 yards behind each other. There was no great improvement in terms of chance creation or energy or style. Saka took on people a few times and we weren't passing the ball out of play like children.
Yeah.
It's probably my take. That seemed to get us through to halftime at 0-0. You could probably even say thanks in part to Konsa, who made two really good blocks.
Mm. Yeah, he seems to have had a lot of praise in the aftermath, hasn't he, Concert? I can't say I've like hugely noticed like a massive difference. I thought England maybe were just a bit more organised and like you say, they just weren't giving the ball away non-stop
Yeah.
all the time, but they weren't also progressing it a lot, which is where you kind of think, well, that's where your chances that you're not making. I mean, did England really make a chance up to the point of when Switzerland scored? I couldn't really tell you.
Not
There,
not
there was
massively.
opportunities where Saka obviously had cut it back, and like I think Mainu and the ball didn't like quite fall to a couple of players a few times, but you didn't just think like, okay, England are really banging at the door now, and it was like everyone had just the game was on, we were
Yeah.
all watching it, we saw nothing happen, kind of at any point, and it was just like this is just still going on. And then when Switzerland scored, and you looked at the time, it was like, fuck, that's quite late. That's
Yeah,
like quite late to leave it like this. Like that's worrying almost.
I was
Well,
very
it was
wor
very worrying actually. Yeah.
I was very worried after, halftime. I thought the performance just dropped massively, and even though it wasn't too great it wasn't a case of, as bad as it had been against, like, Slovakia and the other teams where we were actually infuriatingly bad. The problem was we were defending quite well and just kicking
Mm,
it out, like, as hard as we could whenever we got the ball because we were penned in hard. It was no surprise really to me when we went 1-0 down. I was saying we
yeah.
deserved it. Deserved to go out of the tournament was my opinion at that time because that's how it looked like we were gonna be. Southgate again had kind of waited a long time for
A
these
long time.
substitutions. Yeah. Again, we've spoken about it, that being a bit of a myth, but he's certainly he's certainly,
All of like the bad stuff has just been like emphasized at this tournament, and it's almost like he's aware. Not that he's aware of it, and he's too stubborn, but it feels like that a little bit of just being like, "Well, you think I'm stubborn?
yeah.
I'll show you how stubborn I can be." And I don't think he's ever like done that before. Like just to not change anybody
Yeah.
after they've been on the pitch for so long as well, and tiring players and all this, and then just to go right, all of you on.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of you was Eze, Palmer, and Shaw. Luke
Hmm.
Shaw, the lesser spotted.
Yeah,
Um,
new head again, hasn't he? He's got a new head.
and I think this was the moment where we thought Bellingham was coming off, and it
Yeah,
looked as though Bellingham
we couldn't
said,
quite tell what was going on when Bellingham, because I think he saw that his number went up and he just thought, I think he even maybe even said like not me,
"Yeah,
but then when my mate who was sat next to me was just like, oh no, come on, don't be a dick
that
about this.
that
Let's not
was
piss around.
that was perhaps the lowest moment of being an England fan in my life because I was just like, oh my god, he's in like this guy has started off the tournament as everyone's hero for the next 10, 15 years, and now
Mm,
he's hated and he's embarrassed us, and we've become a disgrace on the big stage. He's like that Kepa who played for Chelsea.
yeah, yeah.
Southgate's whole thing has just been spoiled because he's supposed to have built
Mm.
a lovely team spirit, and then you got Bellingham saying, "No, I ain't going off." Didn't even happen. Thank
Yeah,
God for that.
turns out, by all accounts, it was just a mistake. It
Yeah,
was just a mistake by someone putting the numbers up, and that was it really. And then I think Mainu came off instead, and Bellingham went back into midfield, which is probably where he needed to be, just because England were trying to push forward a bit more and create a little bit of chaos, and the chaos worked weirdly. Like
yeah,
that's what frustrates when you can kind of see, well, when they put a bit of energy and urgency about it, they can like start looking a bit better and panicking Switzerland and making a few chances. Like Luke Shaw, kind of he came on at left centre back, I want to say.
yeah. I think just he did a couple of overlaps as well, and
Yeah.
that was such a beautiful sight to see. There was one where he created an opening for Eze, simply by overlapping and taking 2 defenders with him. Eze just did a terrible shot, but, that's fine. Palmer looked good again, I thought, and like I say, it is frustrating, but it was a great moment, a great England moment when Saka scored. Of all the players, you'd kind of want it
Yeah,
to be him.
surprising as well. Like I just didn't see it coming. I just thought they were going to huff and puff for 10 minutes and then they'll be out. And then Saka took the shot, and because their keeper didn't, Sommer didn't really move, so you just thought, oh gosh, it's fine, it's just going wide or whatever. And then it goes in, and it was like surprise and like giddy shock in the pub
Yeah.
I was in.
Yeah, it was great. That was
Oh, yeah.
why that was the moment. I'm glad I saved going out to the pub for that game, because that was the best moment of the tournament, really. It actually meant something. Yeah, extra time then, that took us through to extra time, really. And this is what my main kind of negativity at the moment is. I can't even comment on how good we played or bad we played in extra time. I was, head in hands, very kind of on my way towards being drunk. Well, on my way towards being very drunk. But we should have gone out in my Shaqiri's corner. That's
Yeah.
fluky in a way, but also he meant it, and it was
Yes.
so close. And then the last kick of the game was like an open header for I can't even remember the Switzerland player's name, but he
Yeah.
missed it just completely, and I was just like, that should have been us gone. That should have
And
been
there was a
us gone.
chance. There was a chance as well that Pickford saved as well to his right hand side. That it's a good save from him too. And England were just a mess in extra time, really, weren't they? Like the formation had gone out the window. You look at someone like Kane, who obviously went off, and he pretty much had to be like thrown down the stairs to come off
He
at
literally
one
was
point.
thrown onto the bench and just stayed
Yeah,
there. That
stay
was
there
again with the Bellingham moment, with the substitution, as I was talking about earlier. I thought that was when I thought that was actually happening, that was the worst moment of my England supporting career. Turns out it wasn't a moment, but I thought this is going to be the defining image of Southgate, is him not being able to hold Harry Kane up as Harry Kane like spears him into the finger, because he tried, didn't he? But he didn't want to break. He didn't want to look like, oh shit, I'm being caught out here. He just like put an
Yeah.
arm out to try and stop him. And then I thought, brilliant. All of that, those two have been like so crucial to our success, and it ends up with Kane tackling Southgate and being physically pushed onto the bench.
Yeah.
But we brought Ivan Toney on, and that kind of set up. I did start talking to my mates quite early on in that second half of extra time about, I do think we've got 5 solid. And I remember texting you before the tournament a while ago saying, let's just play devil's advocate here. If Southgate decided to bring on players solely for penalties again, like he did in the Euros final, we'd have a much stronger set of 5 takers.
Yeah.
And on paper, we did really, as bad as it was, you've got to get behind England for a shootout. And when you think, obviously, we don't see the list of the 5, but you can kind of picture who it was going to be. Then Cole Palmer slots away the first one, and you're like, yes. Then you see a Kanji step up for Switzerland's first, and you're like, that's a centre back. Why is he doing? And then it was a terrible penalty saved.
And it was similar to kind of the France game the day before, when you saw the Portuguese players going up and you just thought, yeah, penalty taker, or really technically gifted. And the French players just went up, and it was just like most of the back four.
Yeah.
Like just and you don't feel like defenders are always great at penalties, but I was just kind of like not confident in all these guys that are taking the penalties for France. And when Akanji steps up, you think, okay, leader, must be confident in what he's doing. Didn't expect Pickford though, did he? Didn't expect Pickford to start doing his stuff.
Yeah. Great stuff for Jordan Pickford. And again, he's the penalty hero. I mean, the takers were also the hero, because it takes them to go 5, clean penalties. Palmer, Bellingham, Saka, Toney, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. The Saka moment was amazing. I thought
I felt really tense at that point.
Yeah, and I felt like he would do it, but it was kind of funny. Somebody who was kind of sat by us in the pub, I think after the Bellingham goal, so we're 2-1 up at that time after 2 penalties each, and they just went, only 3 more to go, lads. And I was thinking that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, we could just
more than half.
No, but like in theory, 3 penalties in a row is fine to score. That should happen. But I go into it with the mentality of like, we'll miss at least 1. So who misses more than 1? And it kind of only became I don't know if I was ever confident, to be fair. Palmer, I felt like he took it quite quickly and the pain was
Mm.
over. Bellingham, I wasn't confident. Saka, I kind of was. Tony, I was, but I did have that thing of going. He scores. I think he scored everyone in the Prem he's ever took, or everyone in his career he's ever
I think
took.
there's like one he's missed. I want to think. I'm saying
One
it
is,
was like
yeah,
really recently at the end, ended towards the end of the season. But
yeah.
yeah, it was that, and it was just like as soon as he stepped up, I was just like, he's got big legs. He's
Yeah, he
got
pulled his
giant
shorts up,
legs.
hasn't he? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and that was
so
a great
high.
penalty.
Oh, yeah, but the fact that like when you saw it again, like he doesn't even look at the ball.
He just looks at the keeper and takes it's a one-step run up.
It
Uh,
is, yeah, and it's like I didn't like that run up, obviously, so I was having kittens at that point. But it went in. I was just like, again, great, well done. Alexander Arnold steps up, and we've had conversations in the past of like he just looks like he had miss written all over him.
yeah, yeah,
And where I wasn't like, oh, he's absolutely gonna miss. I just felt like actually in that circumstances there, the last taker to win the game, he is kind of that kind of player, like a confidence of just like, yeah, actually,
yeah.
this is technique, and I need to just like execute this move now,
I
basically,
think,
rather than shit pressure, got to do something. It was like actually it would have obviously been bad if he missed, but you feel like actually with the confidence he has
yeah,
in himself as well to do that, I just thought if he's ever going to score one, in my opinion, it was going to be that one.
I think, like you say, he had in our kind of joking or what have you, he had missing a sudden death penalty to knock us
Yeah,
out
yeah,
over him
yeah.
more than just missing a penalty. And like you say, yeah, when it came, I wasn't too worried when he stepped up for the last one. It was a great moment. We're in the semi final. Oh, just on the penalty takers as well. There's been some talk today about this. So there's almost like a sponsor. I want to say that word.
Yeah.
Each penalty taker from England has like an assigned other member of the squad who's basically there to back them up. So I saw
Mm,
a video of John Stones basically was the one to walk forward from the players' huddle after Saka's
yeah.
to meet him on his walk back and take that walk with him, which is another, in my opinion, a really really good psychological thing and another example of why Gareth Southgate, um, is quite suited for international football and building a squad like that because I would never have thought of that, but it seems so obvious when you see it.
Yeah, I saw the same video as well. There was a thread that someone posted kind of saying about the differences in this shootout compared to Italy as well. Like, and it showed you Rashford who had to walk all the way back from the penalty spot
Well,
back
it
to the
wouldn't
centre
just be
circle in the
Rashford as well, would
final.
it? It would be like
No, but it
everyone
was
who's ever
just
missed a penalty for England in all the shootouts that we've lost
yeah.
over the years as well. So it takes something to switch up the history like that, like you say.
And even as well, they posted a clip of it was two other things that they did. So Southgate only had the players in the circle who were eligible to take penalties. So he was only speaking to 11 players rather than the entire squad all like going around you, maybe even like speaking to someone when they don't want to be spoken to,
Yeah.
filling their head with like thoughts of like, actually, well, this guy goes this way. They've got a clear process of you are the only guys that can take penalties. I'm only talking to you guys because the sound out of there is not important, which I thought was
Yeah.
really interesting. I'd not seen before. And the other one was the fact that you'd got kind of all the other players that had done that too. But I saw the video of obviously when I think it was when Saka missed at the Euros. I always remember that the only player that ever went up to him was Calvin Phillips. And Calvin Phillips pretty much ran from the centre circle and he left the group of players they were with and all holding arms to go and talk to Saka and try and calm him down. And,
Yeah.
just I mean, what the hell do you even say to him at that point? It was just obviously so sad. But one thing England are not doing now as well is they're not doing that linking the arm
Yeah.
when they're taking the penalties. And the idea behind that as well is because it makes you feel more free and you're not like tight and restrained.
Yeah.
And you have got a job, like you say, to go and speak to that other person. So it's more a group that you feel that you can walk in and out of rather than, oh, right. Even just to think of like, God, I'm next, and maybe feeling someone else's tension on your shoulders. These are like even 0.5% of trying to help you or be confident. But again, it's something that I just hadn't seen before. I'm not saying that England have invented this; like it must have happened somewhere else. But the fact that you just saw the contrast, and it's not like England have been, they've won two penalty shootouts under Southgate, one in the Nations League and one in the World Cup. Lost
Mm.
obviously the one in the Euros final, but even like that good record, they've carried it on to say, actually, we can always improve on stuff. And I know they lost the last one, but there's a record now of it looking a lot better for England too.
Yeah. Who would have thought it in our lifetime, eh? Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, when all's said and done in this tournament, and we both have said a million times there'll be a new manager coming in, just what this time is going to look like, because it is
Yeah,
little things like that that Southgate's done where you have to give him credit, because
yeah,
it's clearly making the squad feel and perform better. It's not necessarily performing better in terms of flashy, blowing teams away performances, but we're in situations where England would have just lost their heads or given up in years gone by. Could you ever imagine us having it in us to think we could score a 95th minute equaliser in a knockout
yeah,
game, or go to penalties after being scared very close twice in the last minute of extra time, or even coming back 5 minutes after conceding on 75? You know, there's something deeper in there in terms of the squad mentality that you have to give him credit for if you're gonna slag him off for his tactical stuff. And international football's
yeah.
probably less about tactics than people think, because who's the best international manager? Is it flipping Roberto Martinez? Seems to get a job at a big team all the time. He doesn't in club football because he's
I
not
know.
that good,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
I know. I totally agree as well, and I think that's the problem of like so much time and effort has gone into the culture and the off field stuff. So much of that. This is like obviously the best England side ever in terms of like off field stuff, in terms of how they want to approach playing for England and all that kind of great stuff. I think that's just where the frustration is of just like you've got so much else right. This
Yeah.
last little piece is almost not the easiest piece. It's clearly the hardest piece of playing well and going on and winning something. That's what's like
Yeah.
that's impossible
I feel like
almost.
you find in international football history, a lot of the teams who've nailed the culture side of stuff, or the togetherness or the mentality, they do because they have lesser players,
Yeah.
and it's kind of rare to get the ability to have both. But you know, we'll see down the line. I mean, I know you hate the podcast, and I don't even know why I listen to it, but the rest is football. I feel like they've had a little bit of a backhander, because they spent about a quarter of today's episode talking about Frank Lampard being the next England manager and bigging him up,
Oh
saying they
my
think he'd be
god.
perfect for it, going
Fuck
through his
that.
resume, because he was on the commentaries on BBC with them, wasn't he? The
Right.
other
Okay.
day.
Oh, that is so route one. That is of just like who have we seen recently? Frank.
We watched the game with him, and he made some good points. He said to bring on Shaw, and
Yeah.
yeah, he said
That's
anyway.
the thing. Whenever I've seen Frank Lampard as a pundit, I think he's quite good. And I
Yeah,
guess that's because he is a coach, and what he's actually telling you is probably very simple to a coach.
yeah, yeah,
So like to lay people like us is like, oh, quite good and well spoken, very posh and all that kind of stuff. It's
yeah.
like, well, actually, it's still different. Like I can't imagine him putting in that kind of like an ethos of what Southgate has done. And when Southgate does leave, do a lot of the players just think it's not the same as what it was?
Yeah,
Can
and
you get more
handling
out of them?
handling the pressure as well. He's took nothing but
Mm.
stick, really, Southgate, and he doesn't seem to have let any of it bother him.
And I
And that was great early on in particular, and then people seem to start to resent him for like being a little bit more. Oh, I don't even know. It's,
I think that's the thing of like when England didn't have the players they have now, it was like what a really good job he's done. He's got the players of like, he's got Jordan Henderson, Dele Alli, and Jesse Lingard to a World Cup semi final while playing in central midfield,
yeah,
Ashley Young left wing back, all that kind of stuff. And you think, great, really well done there. Like that is making them more than the sum of their parts, which England have never been. I think the criticism is more maybe warranted where you go down the line and go, well, this isn't that team anymore, is it? So what do you do with it? And I think that's where you could say, okay, fair, but semi-final, quarterfinals of the last tournament before this, the final of the tournament before that, and the semi-final of the tournament before that. England have never been this consistent in reaching latter
yeah.
stages of knockout tournaments. They just haven't. Even when they won something, when
And
they won the World Cup, it's like,
yeah,
what do they even do at that Euros? I think maybe they got to the semi-final when it was like 4 teams played in it. And in the
yeah,
next
yeah.
World Cup, I think they went out in the first knockout round to Germany. So even the best England team ever
And
haven't
then
had this consistency.
and then you're into the 70s,
Yeah,
and
and
people
again,
seeing
when
how
England
bad
didn't
that
do
can
fucking
be.
anything then, yeah, exactly. It was just absolute off a cliff then, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've kind of said this before, maybe not even on the podcast, but there's always talk about, particularly with the Manchester United job of is that Southgate's Premier League job, and I'm not being funny when I say this. I've said it. I don't think he should leave the England setup. I think there's
Mm.
got to be a position above, sort of not necessarily above manager, where the manager has to answer to you, but for somebody like him to just keep an eye on things. Maybe I just don't know if he's suited for Premier League management. I think he's got
I
so
don't
much
think he is.
to
No,
offer
I think he's
England.
pure international manager to me. And it's almost like I don't know what Trevor Brooking ever used to do for the FA, but that should now be Southgate's job.
Yeah, and I hope he's up for that. Like, but whether he's offered it or whatever, probably not. But yeah, because it would be tempting for him to think, you know what, let's give it a go at Premier League management. Who knows? He could be the next Sir Alex Ferguson. But it would be great to just see a bit of continuity. So, like you say, when the next guy comes in, he's told like this is what we do as England now. We kind of, we bring on younger players and we support them from the moment we come in. We don't want a division in the camp,
Yeah,
because it might be easy for the next guy to come in and just think this team's been doing well. They all seem to get on, so I'll just pick them. But what happens when you have to blood the next squad through?
yeah.
It's not going to take care of itself once Carl Walker, John Stones have gone, the most senior players. Some of the younger ones. Anyway, we've gone well off track. We've gone well off track.
Well, that's the thing. You have to think about this next bit of legacy and how Southgate's going to be remembered by the people who don't, by the people who don't like him. He will be
Mm,
remembered as the guy who did all right for England, got an easy run, and this is the minimum we should have expected. The
yeah,
people like you and I who do like him, give him the credit of what he's done and actually getting there. And it's the best we've ever had it as England fans, even though we haven't won anything. It's not about that. There's only two things in international football you can win every 4 years.
yeah,
That's just the end of it. And not every team will be able to win stuff. So you just kind of go, well, what did we do? What did we feel as we went along the way? And how did we get to these certain places? uh, the shootout will live. I'll always remember it. It's not on Columbia levels to
no,
me because it just felt like that was like a proper, just everything. Like I've never seen England win a penalty shootout.
yeah,
And now
exactly,
that's even becoming like not boring, but that's now becoming like that's just something England are able to do, which
yeah.
is again like it's like greedy almost from us to think that way. But he's helped change that massively.
I agree. On the wider kind of tournament scale, I was so looking forward to Friday's footballing feast. It was a bit of a letdown, to be honest. Germany versus Spain was a good game, but I spent most of it cooking. I did see the goals, but it was kind of like the drama was there. You just had to wait for it. I think there was an 89th minute equaliser from Germany,
Hmm.
then 119th minute winner from Spain. So, you just had to wait it out. So Spain probably looking like team of the tournament are through to the semi-final, and they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
joined by France. No more Ronaldo, boring 0-0, penalty shootout. Mbappe subbed off as well for France, and yeah, that was great to sit down and watch lots of football. Just wished it was better, but that's international
yeah.
football for you. So Spain versus France in the semi-final. Do you have anything to say on either those games or that semi, which is tomorrow night?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that game's gonna be really interesting because you feel it's Spain, kind of almost like the coming team. It feels like to definitely kind of like the age profile that they've got and how they've played, and really they've been the best team in the tournament so far. They've been the best team in every game they've played as well, and deserve to win every game.
Without Gavi, who was injured months ago for the tournament,
Yeah,
and
and Pedri went off in
now
this
without
game as well
Pedri.
against Germany.
So that is kind of like us losing Mainu and Bellingham,
Yeah,
maybe.
mate, it could be something like that, isn't it? I guess they've just got robot Rodri, haven't they? They've just got him
Yeah,
there being the fucking daddy and
yeah,
just
yeah.
like claiming he's never lost a game in about 9 years or whatever that record keeps being, even though he does lose football games.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
He-
Nah, he has
That's
lost. He has lost one there, but it was a long time at Man
But it
City.
was like, oh, he hasn't lost a fucking Spain game in 3 years. He definitely played and was an absolute moaning bitch when they went out to Morocco, which was 18 months ago.
You're calling. Oh, hang on. We can get to. I was going to say you calling it a conspiracy, but we can get on to conspiracy in a little bit.
Okay,
Completely
okay.
forgot about that.
I'll hold on to that. But yeah, and then it's against France, who are just kind of like who have been shit, who have been like
So bad.
bad in this tournament, but then you're still going like they've not scored one of their own goals from open play, but you're still looking at them going, I'm scared.
Yeah, they
It's just going
they
to
can turn it on at
click
a
at some
moment's
point.
notice.
But
And I w
I kind of would rather France go through just on the off chance of if England do get there, that's more to me. That's more of a head-to-head shootout of struggling teams rather than Spain are just going to walk all over and whoever they're going to play because Netherlands haven't been great either. Really, they've been all over the place at times and scraping through and losing games.
UEFA, if you are listening to the podcast, you can have that rebrand for free. So instead of the Euros final, it's the head-to-head of shootout of struggling teams. I like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it would be. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves as we always tend to do. But you've got to, for the purposes of talking about something,
You're allowed to. Doesn't mean
it
it's going
would
to happen.
be in keeping with the rest of the theme of Southgate, like getting so far with something, then doing one better or putting old ghosts to rest, so to speak. You know, the France game, the quarterfinal. Yeah, it was a quarterfinal, the last World
Yeah.
Cup. That was called like the game of a lifetime, and it felt right. Like nothing has come close to it this tournament
No.
because it felt like both teams were absolutely ready for it. But yeah, we fell just short. So could we learn from those lessons and just apply it to a final? But
Yeah,
yeah,
is it ever
no
gonna is it
goals.
just gonna be the beast that can't be tamed? Is it like it feels like would be very Southgate of redemption for England, a lot of things, kind of like not even where he messed up. England were good in that game, it just didn't go England's way. So
Yeah,
maybe you're just hoping that is something they can put to rest now if it gets that far of like, okay, it's France, so they're not doing great, we're not doing great, but it's like I say, it is more of that shootout now, which you'd be hoping for.
but do we both think it'll be Spain?
I think Spain have been too good, but I
Yeah,
also just can't not see. I just don't know what it's going to be. I think it'll probably be Spain, just because I hope it isn't.
yeah.
So
So we'll
I'm just going to more say that, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Great, but I just feel like France have got another gear they can go up when they've still got this far.
Yeah, yeah, scary times. So it'll be Spain or France versus England or the Netherlands. I can't pretend that I watched Netherlands versus Turkey. I was too busy. Well, we'd gone to a pub that's just outside of town
Mm.
and then walked into town and yeah, I was watching a ska band playing and they were very fun.
Okay,
They were doing du-du-du-du, du-du-du-du.
they were on brand then.
Well, we were giving it the Wayne Rooney treatment, but there were some proper scar heads next to us who looked a bit disappointed about these three lads in England shirts putting football chants over the sacred ska music. Um, yeah, it was on. We saw the Turkey goal, but and then my point getting to this is
Mm.
I realize I haven't really watched much Netherlands at all in this tournament. Anyway, it feels like they've snuck through a bit like England, but just in less dramatic circumstances.
Yeah, I've not seen those. I watched their opening game where I thought they were okay. When Weghorst scored to win it for them. I didn't watch the 0-0 with France. I did watch the 3-2 loss to Austria, and Austria were fucking brilliant. And I thought Netherlands looked like a right shambles at the back. I watched a little bit of the Romania game from memory, and when it went 1-0, I was like, that's going to end 3-0, and I'll just walk it by the end, which they did in the end. But yeah, I didn't see much of the Turkey game either. We were in the same pub and then decided we were going to go to a different one afterwards. We didn't have a TV, so my friend just kind of mentioned, oh, literally just finished 2-1 Netherlands. I was like, right. George's prediction after years has finally come true of, I think we're going to play the Netherlands at some point.
Yeah, if you keep predicting teams, sometime it's going to happen. But I mean, is there any point in us talking about this game because is its outcome already decided?
Well, you've got a theory, or there's been a theory that's been floating around.
I mean, England. It was announced earlier today that the referee for this game on Wednesday is Felix Zweier, who has previously uh, been banned from football for taking bribes. So he's
Right.
involved in a match fixing scandal and has been accused by Jude Bellingham of basically Dortmund played Munich, lots of bad refereeing decisions. And Jude Bellingham said, well, when you give the biggest game in Germany to a man who's previously been done for match fixing, this is what you're going to get. And he got banned, he got fined 40 grand for that.
Ooh.
Um, So Zwaya was I think he was a linesman in a second division game in 2005 or something like that, a long time ago anyway. He took a bribe from the referee who was kind of in charge of bribery on that game. So he played his
It's
role.
like you said that like he was in charge of VAR. Like he was looking
Yeah.
after the bribery bit.
Well, he was what's the word when you give people work, basically. He was not dishing out the vibes, but anyway,
Yeah.
vibes, the bribes.
The
You get my
bribes.
point. He took it. He was banned. The story didn't come out for years, and then it all kicked off with Jude and all of that as well. And now he's refereeing the game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
I'll just say, I think if you've been involved in match fixing and found guilty, you shouldn't be allowed to be refereeing a European Championship semi-final. Surely there should be a limit. If you want to get back into doing that stuff, there should be a limit to how high you can go. You can't go all the way to the top when you've literally been banned for match fixing or playing a part
Yeah.
in match fixing.
Yeah, I don't really disagree. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Of like, what you let that person in, and they're just, and this is gonna. I mean, we hadn't heard about this beforehand. Obviously, it's only become news now because England. He's now refereeing that semi-final, so he can't be the only good German referee, because that's the thing of like England's referees. I guess are going home now, even though there's been two referees who've been there, and they. I think it's been clear that they've not been the most popular two refs, even though I don't think they've really made many mistakes or anything like that.
Yeah.
But because England are going further in the tournament, and mind-bogglingly, people in Europe think some of the English referees are some of the best ones. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Like, there must be like an amazing French referee we don't know about who's just not allowed to referee these kind of games. But
Yeah.
you just think, you invite him in like a vampire, and don't be surprised what happens. Really, in terms of it's going to attract headlines. I don't. There's clearly not going to be anything about he's going to take a bribe from the Netherlands, because he's as likely to do that as he is England. You know that, like,
oh,
but you know,
okay. I like
you know what I
this.
mean. Well, Netherlands and Germany have got a massive rivalry themselves,
Yeah.
and
So
England, Netherlands don't really.
if he's up for a bribe, who's to say it has to be against us? Why can't he
Yeah.
work in our favour? And Jude Bellingham planting the seeds, nobody would ever expect it except for you.
I'll need this one day. It's like yeah, it's just like someone like
An
putting in
alibi.
like a little alibi, or like sowing a seed of just like, I'll come to you one day, like in Succession or something, just like, you're my boy.
And he'd be like, oh, no, because do you remember that episode when oh, yeah, that was what all that look was about. But yeah, Bellingham wasn't shy in slagging him off. And I think the police investigated Bellingham for that. I was reading.
I mean, that's mental. I mean, what is happening with him at the minute? Like, he is just absolute drama while doing nothing on the pitch, really. But
I
it's just
know.
kind of like the whole thing about the gesture, and he was going to get fined, and he's had a 1 or 2 games suspension.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's
So if he's got any more more further conduct, he'll be banned afterwards, which is a thing. Like, I had people just saying, I've never heard that before. Preferential treatment for England. I was like, that's definitely happened before. That happens to
never heard-
managers all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never heard of it though for football. I've heard of it for actual crime, like a
Yeah,
suspended
yeah.
sentence. But yeah, I mean, you were saying just about it's got to be like a shortage of referees or this and that. Couldn't they just get one from anywhere in the world except for England or Netherlands? Like,
Well, I'm
isn't it?
assuming it's because, like I said, the English ones have gone now because England have gone deeper in a tournament. I don't think it's seen as being good that you can have a referee who has a vested interest, in theory, in another team getting through, because that could like, for example, if there was an English referee and they just thought, again, this is insane, if they thought that, oh, actually England wants Spain to win, I can be seen as giving Spain decisions to get them to the final to play England. Again,
Or couldn't
this
they
never
just get
happens.
like a Danish referee or like a
Well,
not Scottish referee? Jesus
if
Christ.
they're up to certain standards, I guess they're seen as, like,
So
I
they're
can't believe it, in the
from a
world
small
there's only
pool.
4 people that can do this.
Yeah. Look, they've simply got no other choice but to go with the guy who's match fixing.
Yeah,
It's like we know
this
he's
is
a
the
sex
one
offender.
thing we didn't want to happen.
We know he's a sex offender, but everyone else is busy. The only
But rules is
problem-
rules.
Yeah. Rules is rules. Yeah, so that's the conspiracy there. Just classic England, unnecessary drama, and we're not even to blame.
Yeah,
Can't
for
blame us.
once.
But yeah, so let's have a look at the Netherlands then. As you say, they beat Poland 2-1 in the first game. They drew 0 with France in the second game, lost 3-2 to Austria in the third. So we can't take anything away from that at all. Then they beat Romania 3-0 and Turkey 2-1. I'm still none the wiser,
Yeah.
really. I
From
don't
what
remember.
from what I saw of the Turkey Netherlands game on the highlights afterwards, Turkey were all over them. Like Turkey played really well from the bits I saw, and it felt like just two little bits of, when you say quality, like the winner for the Netherlands was like, it looked like it was Gakpo's goal, but it was an own goal.
Yeah.
And then like it was a brilliant cross from Memphis to set up the goal for their equaliser as well. And there's clearly quality there, isn't there? You just don't quite know where it's going to come from or when, or you feel like they already have to make like certain substitutes at certain times as well. So
Yeah.
I'm quite confused about them. It feels like there's a good team in there somewhere. I mean, they've got to the semi-final, so they are a good team, but it feels like they're only a good team after Weghorst comes on, where you're like, well, that can't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always liked the Netherlands. Just again, I think
Yeah.
we've said that before. But this isn't a vintage team on paper. Managed by Ronald Koeman, who has hurt England in the past.
Oh yes.
He was famously embroiled in the Graham Taylor, well, the end of days really for Graham Taylor. The
Yeah,
what
yeah.
have they been instructed? Classic moment. And maybe he can hurt us again, but he's got to work with new players now. He can't do it himself on the pitch, or he can get the referee to get involved. But there you go. I want to have a little talk through their latest starting 11. So
Mhm.
the starting 10, I guess, because I forgot to write down the goalkeeper. Dumfries, De Vries, Van Dijk and Nathan Ake in defence, Schouten and Reinders in midfield, Bergwijn, Simons and Hakpo ahead of them,
Wow.
and Memphis Depay up top. Good, but not too good. I mean, that
Yeah.
midfield two, again, we'll get to the game no doubt, and they will absolutely school us that midfield two, Schouten and Reinders. But I'm a bit like, compare that with Rice and Mainu, and if it ends up being a midfield battle, we should win.
You'd think so. It's not the midfield of Spain and it's not the midfield of France. That's kind of like all you're probably happy with there. And it's not like England have had a load of control when they have had Mainu and Rice in there. Like it's just they've got through certain games, haven't they? And maybe they can get through this one as well. You do feel like weirdly Gakpo's been one of the players of the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, that's almost like felt like an accident that's just been waiting to happen as well alongside. I mean, Bergwijn, I think he started the last game, may have even got hooked at half time. They've changed a couple of players in the forward line. I mean, Xavi Simons I think he's played every game, and he's been fine from what I've seen. Just fine. I don't feel like I've seen the full experience of him yet. But
this time.
but I do feel like that defense of Ake, Van Dijk, De Vrij, Dumfries, their names and they're good names. And you just feel, yeah, that's interesting. But I remember I saw a bit of the highlights and the Turkey forward, I don't know who he was, absolutely skinned Van Dijk at one point to the point
Yeah.
where I was just like, that can happen. Like, 'cause it's been seen for years of him just being like, oh, no human has ever gone past him since 1998 or something stupid like that. It was like, well, that happened. And he's
Yeah.
not been great this tournament either. He was keeping all of the Austrian players on side when Austria scored their winner, I think it was, in that game as well. So he's not been great. Dumfries, whenever I watch him, looks really good. And I just think like
The fullbacks are quite intimidating for me because they feel like
Ake's very good too. Yeah.
yeah. And Memphis Depay up top. I think the bench is quite interesting though. Weghorst, Frimpong, Van der Ven. Harry's not getting a game. I'm shocked considering
Yeah.
he's, well, if according to Sky Sports a lot last year, he's the single greatest kicker of a football to ever play of all time. Van der Ven. I remember Gary Neville once just going. They were talking about him for ages, like analysing him because he was in a good run of form. Going, oh, he's patient. Oh, he's got his pace and this and that. And then Neville just after about 10 minutes, I don't think he'd said anything. Just went, I just can't get over how good looking he is. Like, mate,
Great. Thanks for
you're
that.
getting paid. You get paid money for that. Matthias de Ligt and is it Joshua Zirkzee who Man United won
I'm
for?
going with Xerxes, yeah.
I was more questioning the Joshua. I don't know where I've got that from. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I think
his
it is, yeah.
surname is Xerxes. Wijnaldum, Daily Blind. You can still
Daily
find him.
Blind, you can still find him.
Yes. I mean, it's a good mix, really, that bench. There's a lot of like players in there. I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be the new United signing who's gonna do us, or it's gonna be Weghorst who was ridiculed, or it's gonna be Depay who played in England and was ridiculed, or it's gonna be Gakpo ahead of the new Liverpool season, or it's gonna be Van Dijk who we're
I
all
think we're
used
just
to.
used to it, aren't we? We just like there's always something somewhere for one of these players to just pop up and just be like, "Oh, it's them, great." That's the moment it is. Of course, it's going to be them, brilliant, and that's the kind of frustrating thing. I think there's just names that we all know from a few Premier League. Some of them, again, I just couldn't tell you where some of them play, but you still like even Bergwijn. I mean, that's something right there of just like a guy who was fine and interesting in the Spurs documentary, then just went off a fucking cliff.
Scored against United on his debut, of course he did.
Absolutely, yeah. Why wouldn't he?
David De Gea chucking it into his own net from memory. Yeah, so you've mentioned I've been calling this game for a while alongside many others. I've always been a bit scared of it. And I'm not sure how to feel now. You know what I feel overall, and this is a safe space. Not massively like the emotion of 2020 is just not here. And I
Mm.
think that's probably not that I can impact the game, but I think it's a good thing for everyone. Maybe the players are feeling the same, and maybe the players are just like, let's go and do our best as a team in the next game.
I think as well we had like it's been a couple of tournaments where it was like 18 there was kind of like no expectations, see what happens, you get to the semi-final. Yeah, the final, the 2020, it was kind of like the off the back of COVID, just an outpouring of emotion of like getting that far and everyone kind of like hanging from the rafters, being allowed to see people and go outside again, and like the emotion of the whole thing. The World Cup obviously was in a mental period because it was like it was in the winter, which we'd never had before, but you still felt World Cup fever was taking over and people were going through that. This one is just kind of everyone's been really pissed off right up until this point. And I feel like now everyone's just going, fuck it. Let's just, if we're
Yeah,
going to go out, we're going to go out. And it doesn't matter how crap we're going to play.
yeah,
But you either get behind it now or you don't bother. Just, if you're not going to go to kind of like be part of it and enjoy it, then fucking stay at home. Like,
yeah,
don't mess around with all this kind of like, oh, actually, and this and that. Because when it ends, it is going to be Southgate that takes the brunt. I don't really think it's going to be a player who gets ridiculed and things like that. And after what happened with the last um at the Euros as well, you kind of just go, yeah, that obviously was horrendous what happened to the players who missed the penalties. But you look at like Harry Kane, for example, and we can see that there's a one clear difference there of the players who got shit for missing
yeah,
penalties and one who didn't really. In Harry
yeah,
Kane, there's a clear difference between why ones did and ones didn't. But even that, you don't feel like he was made the scapegoat of it's his fault and all that. It was just something that happened. So you
yeah,
just go, yeah, you know what? We're all on the ride now. We're all on the ride for Wednesday. Whatever's going to happen has happened. I think you said a while ago too, it kind of doesn't matter now because it's a
yeah,
semi-final. You've got to this point, and actually, if you in 10 years when you look back at the cold light of day on that CV, it's just going to say semi-final at least, isn't it? And you can go, you know what? What a great period that was.
exactly what I was going to say. The headline now is semi-final, regardless. I think if honestly, if you would have said to me in 2016 or 2017, you at the World Cup 2018, you get into a semi-final, but it would have been like this. Like we would have done it in this way rather than we did. I mean, they weren't too dissimilar, but then that's it. I probably would have took it. I probably would have said, I'll take a get into the semi-final in a bit of
Yeah.
a rotten way with a penalty shootout win because that would be amazing too. And then I'd go back into the wilderness for 10 years. And
Imagine that the day Sam Allardyce was appointed, and all you got given was England's finishing positions in the next four tournaments. And
yeah,
you go, fucking, that's unbelievable. Well, fair play to him. He's done what he's done. It's like one
and
game.
you could have even been like, and it's all from one manager who starts managing in the year 2016 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy man. Um, yeah, I don't feel too much fear for that reason, but you
Yet.
do get into it when the game starts, and then you start to worry. I'm excited to see us play the Netherlands as well. I really hope that we can, match them for whatever they give us and go above and beyond and show that, that show our best capabilities. Um, do we think that we need to make any changes to the team?
Well, it'd be interesting now that Luke Shaw has re-emerged and he has birthed again. Like,
Yeah,
is it worth just starting him and
yeah,
just
I
getting
would
those
say
60
so.
minutes out of him, or just is it to me, or is it just going to be too late for he's going to be one of those first raft of substitutes when England fall behind late on that Southgate just brings on and we try and change the game again, or
It's a
is it?
choice, isn't it? I mean, because
Well,
Trippier
they're playing.
hasn't been great, but I mean, he's defensively just smart and intelligent. He's like professional standard defensive defender.
Yeah, he's
Do you
just
know what I
not
mean?
Kieran Trippier,
Yeah.
which is great. And I feel bad saying that, but it's just like we all know what he's done this tournament, and it's not particularly his fault because he doesn't want to play there, especially left wing back. We think that's mental. But does he go back to? I mean, this is going to come out, tomorrow or whatever, so we'll probably know soon from the next load of leaks. But does he go
Yeah.
back to the four at the back? Does he stay at the three at the back?
I think if
Does
he's
it because
matching,
well, yeah,
then
so you think he maybe be matching them up, so we could maybe go back to the four. So Gehi will probably come back in despite Conser. It's just to me, it's the Luke Shaw thing. But are we really going to go back to Foden on the left?
I know. And
Like,
and we all know that there's the bigger question above that. I would love to see Ivan Toney start. I'm sorry to just jump over Phil Foden because that's worth it. Let's go back to that because yes, he's probably the answer. I feel a lot of people were saying he played really well, and I don't think he did.
I didn't think he did. I think particularly anybody played really well. Saka played well. Some of
Mainoo,
the midfield at times. Again, Minor I thought
Konsa,
was good. Was all right. Again, Conser played all right.
and John
But again, it's
Stones
not
and
like
that were
these.
improved, but not good. You know?
Yeah, but it was a bit of a shit show for their goal as well, wasn't it? That was an issue of just kind
Yeah,
of like poor, like a cross just coming in and no one dealing with it properly. Like that was
yeah,
disappointing. But yeah, if he goes back to four at the back, you'd probably say, I'd really want Luke Shaw to start. So you've got Foden to have that option on the left if he's going to stick there. I really don't know if I just would. The person, if it was me, I'd be playing Luke Shaw and I'd be giving Anthony Gordon some time on that left wing. And then you can bring Foden on when you need to.
yeah.
You start him. I think we've said it, and it's a bit of a weird way to think about it. Once you start him, your only option is to bring him off.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You've not got somebody who can who you can bring on as a sub and look, and then the other team might look at them and go fucking, and just kind of like drop the shoulders a bit because they might
Yeah.
see Anthony Gordon and know that he's a good player and that he'll give them a physical test.
There's not a
But
fear factor, is it
he's
really? Of
not
what
got a
I've
fear factor.
done it before at international level. I'm not saying like Foden has either, but being a very good player in the Premier League to last year being one of the best players in the Premier League in terms of Foden, I just wouldn't be playing him. Just try and see what you can do. Because Dumfries likes to get forward.
Yeah,
So he's going to be leaving that space behind him. Surely Anthony Gordon with Luke Shaw both going down that side because Ake's not going to particularly get forward that much. But you think Saka could maybe defend well, and then you've got the problem's going to be Van Dijk's not particularly rapid anymore of what he used to be. Kane's not going to run in behind. You
Van
can
de
maybe
Ven.
think Saka would, but
If they decide to bring Van de Ven in, he is rapid.
he is. But I don't. I think it's too settled at this point with them. With them two, I think it's just
De Vrij
they
got a
that.
goal as well.
Yeah, and I guess they are just going to play, aren't they? It depends on what they do when they ring those changes, because apparently they change their midfield all at one time at a certain point in the game as well. Memphis isn't going to really occupy the defenders the same way a proper centre forward would, but he's very good at holding on to the ball now. So
Yeah,
is that going to be better for England? It's a really interesting matchup because I just don't know what I know. I said it last time. We don't know what to expect from it, but there's Southgate's twisted now. The idea was he going to stick or twist? And he's twisted and it's worked. And he's got another move to make now. Does he twist again? Snip, snap, snip, snap. He's got to keep going back to it, really, isn't it?
yeah. Well, if he was playing 21 and he was on 17, he's twisted and he's got 18.
Yeah.
It could still very easily go bust. But like, there's not much change from last time, and like, it's harder to make big rafts of changes as you go through the tournament. But um, he's going to stick with Harry Kane, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd be stunned if he didn't stick with Harry Kane. I'd hope that maybe it's hope about what he's going to do. I'd hope he thinks now it's not the be all and end all to keep Harry Kane on for that time because Tony's shown in 2 games of like the confidence of scoring his penalty, the ability and the wherewithal to kind of set up Kane for his goal as well. there's a really mobile player there that can come on, and we're not even thinking about Ollie Watkins now. It's just like, bye bye, not even
Yeah.
considered you anymore. But for some reason, it's Tony at the minute because he was going to take that penalty. And we said last time round, I don't know what you're seeing in what he's going to do in a minute, but it worked
And
in that game.
he sold himself really in that time. And now, like you say, it's strange there's no call for Watkins really. But maybe if he would have scored his chance against Denmark, then we'd be here saying, "Oh, you could replace Kane with either of them if you want." But if it's going to be one, it's going to be Tony, and it's not going to happen. So that's that really. But I don't know. you know, again, it just goes back to this thing of him having such a different physical presence to Kane, and
Yeah.
but then you wouldn't not be
But he
surprised if
gives,
Kane
you
scored
know,
it.
the idea that he'll be able to, and Kane will try and do this in terms of trying to drag Van Dijk out of defence where he's not comfortable, and commit him forward as well. But you feel like Kane can still do it. It's just that physically he's just really struggling at the moment. Like you'd hope like a different Harry Kane would be able to do something in terms of picking a pass out behind him. And maybe Ivan Toney is that kind of profile player, but I'd hope that if it gets to the point where, 90 minutes are up and the game is going to continue, Tony's going to get that chance. To me, I'm still just so confused about if they're going to stick with the back five, is it Shaw? Are you then sticking with Saka playing that right wing back position? Because although his performance improved, I just don't feel that fits, even if you're playing Shaw there.
Yeah, and the Foden thing as well. I mean, we both know it's going to be the same team in
Yeah,
one shape
yeah.
or another. Um, that's probably the only thing that will change it. So it is what it is, and we hope again. It's what 6 games now. Can Foden have 6 bad games in a row? Can
Just
Kane have
6
six
games where
bad
he just
games in a
doesn't.
row?
At least Harry Kane scored 2 goals, though. At least, like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the thing of, like, that's what he's in the team for in the end of the day is to score goals. When Foden hasn't really made a contribution in these games, it's officially up. We said he was allowed 4 games
yeah,
to just do whatever. Time's up with that. We've got to just. But he's not good. He's not going to move on from him. We've lost our hair by like saying he has to do this. He has to make 5 changes. I think we said from the last game, like he either makes 1 or 5. He made the 1, so that's
yeah,
the safe option. The next safe option is you keep the same team and you probably stick with the back 5. And just because it worked for Saka and Bellingham and Foden were getting more space, even though they didn't do anything with it, and they looked
yeah.
solid, I think
I'd
he'll
stick
probably
with
stay
it.
with the back 5 if I get
I'd
the
get
chance.
Shaw in.
And well, look, I'd hope to get Shaw in, but maybe he'll make that maybe he'll make that decision a bit quicker again. But as I say this, I don't think he will because he's just going to stick with what he's doing and he believes in it, and it's worked so far. You can't say it's not worked. They're here. They're in the semi-finals.
Yeah,
Is
and
this just the game where it comes unstuck, or is it just another fucking? Well, this is the weirdest road to a major tournament final there's ever been. That's
well,
one
let's
we're one game away from actually
let
having to make plans for the final day. It's insane.
I know. And I think I'm just going to roll easy with those plans because it's just been that type of tournament. It's not been ecstasy and flipping, pure unbridled joy and party in the streets. It's just been
Yeah.
nice and calm as Gareth would want it. But I'm sure we can sneak a party
It's
in
not been
for the
calm
day.
at times. Let's just remember that. Let's just remember after the Denmark game where his head was on Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, calm as in no joy. You know,
Yeah, we've not. It's not the giddiness hasn't been there. Yeah,
people haven't been drinking in the streets and jumping off buses. They've been drinking scotch in a shed.
yeah.
With the lights out.
In the apology shed.
Yeah. Well, let's make a final prediction for the score then. I am going to go first, and I'm going to go 3-1 England.
3-1 England. Wow.
Most unconvincing 3-1 you'll ever see.
Oh, it's going to be absolute dirt if that happens. Yeah.
Uh,
um.
no idea why. I just had to finish my sentence, and
Yeah, that's what
I
came
just
out.
went with the gut. What about you?
Um. I think we were both quite pessimistic last time. I feel that maybe this is just where England's little bit of luck runs out, and maybe the Dutch's luck, which has been in as well. They've stumbled through games at times, especially against Turkey, from what I saw too, and they were awful against Austria, but still they went through as the best third place team or whatever they were from that group, and we just about missed them last time. It wasn't it like Georgia who basically meant that this game didn't happen in the first knockout round.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Georgia beat
So
Portugal.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go a real narrow Netherlands win, just
Yeah.
because I think that if England can't keep waiting to make these changes so late, and you feel like the Dutch are going to make their changes first, so maybe that's something Saka can use in his favour because he'll kind of know what they're going to do, but they know that if we make the changes quickly, we've got a chance to get ahead here if they're not already or England aren't. So, yeah, I feel a narrow Dutch win, but we're able to kind of bow out of the tournament by just going.
That was
Yeah,
us.
it was good enough.
So you're predicting heartbreak on Wednesday. I'm predicting the performance that makes everybody lose their heads before
Yeah,
creating even greater heartbreak on Sunday.
yeah. What do you think? What do you think about the France game then? Just quick before
Uh,
I finish. 'Cause I know you asked me about my opinion of it.
oh yeah, Spain. I think
Do you
Spain will
think
do
Spain will
them.
go through?
Maybe 2-0. And yeah, I just think. Oh, it depends, man. The France manager is going to have to be bold. I don't know why. I just think he has to play Giroud and just get
Oh,
him in.
okay.
I thought that last game against Portugal was just crying out for him. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know what they're like with injuries. Mbappe still isn't great. I think his
Well,
nose is still giving him
they've also
trouble.
Spain have also got Pedri, who's likely to. No, I've literally just googled it and it just says gigantic Spain blow confirmed as 3 starters missed the semi-final. So
Yeah,
that's Pedri, Danny Carvajal, and Robin Lenormand. Robin the Norman. He is missing as well. So that's 3 changes they'll have to make to their team too. Out of a team of I couldn't even tell you who their other right back is. And France have I know Mbappe's living under the turtle mask at the moment, but you still feel that France weirdly have got the same players as England, but you feel like they will go up another gear at one game in the tournament and you'll just go, there it is.
there it is. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure what's happening with Griezmann either, to be fair. But
Yeah, he's been
I'm
really quiet, hasn't he?
I'm predicting Spain and I'm predicting England, and we will see. I mean, I can't believe that the first semi-finals tomorrow, and I have a vested interest in
Yeah.
it.
After where we were, like not even about where we were, just after the last game, you think, well, yeah, we said that they could beat Switzerland, and they did, and it took took a penalty shootout and all this, but you just now go in. It feels like we're just at the quarters now. It doesn't feel like the semi-final, which
Yeah.
is again another amazing thing where you just have to go, we'll look back at this and maybe we'll have different feelings about it rather than, well, yeah, I guess we better plant a grin on our face and crack on, because in the morning when I wake up on Wednesday morning, first thing I'm going to think of is just it's today. It's that
Yeah.
Larry David getting out of bed, really surprised. Picture, isn't it? Just on his opening night. It's just like, oh, it's today.
I know. It's Christmas. Better than Christmas. Let's
Yeah.
bring it home. Bring another
Scary
final home.
Christmas.
Bring another final home. It's scary Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, we'll speak soon, Nick. And even if we go out, we'll speak soon.
We have to do it. Legally binding now. We've said it. We can't be cowards.
Okay. See you all next time.
You may be a stranger. That's what time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me. Darling, there's no danger with all that we've been